A lot of activewear founders say that they are protecting the quality and the product that they are launching, but in reality, they are simply focusing on the wrong things. A couple months comes and goes, and another change has to be done to your next collection before you get it just perfect. You get it perfect, and then all of a sudden there's another change and another and another. This is the perfectionist dilemma. It is the reason why you might have started this idea 12 months ago, 24 months ago. You've invested your time, your effort into building this brand, and you still haven't launched. In my experience as an activewear designer, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of brands delay launches endlessly, thinking that they are in the pursuit of perfection. And this isn't to say that being focused and attentive to the details of your product, of your branding, of your marketing, isn't the way to actually achieve success. At the end of the day, it is important to dot your I's and cross your X's. The problem is when you get into this endless habit or a cycle of coming up with something new to focus on the moment that you feel that you're ready to launch. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at what are the main reasons that activewear founders delay their launch, and are those reasons ultimately worth it or not, and how you can apply a decision framework on what is worth redoing, retrying, re-giving the time and attention to, and what isn't. So that way, when you set your next launch timeline, you have complete certainty that if you do decide to pause or to stop for a change, that you are convinced that is the right thing to do. And if you decide to continue, that you know that you're focusing on the right things that are actually going to move the needle forward, not simply going to stroke a perfectionist's ego. So without further ado, my name is Shadi. I'm the co-founder and the creative director of FittDesign, the world's first sportswear design agency. And over the last 10 years, we've worked with literally thousands of activewear brands to help them go from an idea to a physical product in under 30 days. And I've learned a thing or two about what it takes to launch an activewear brand without delay. So this is my story for you. Number one is that quality needs a definition. Because if you plan on launching to market with quality, then that is going to be your unique selling point. But to understand truly what quality represents and what quality is worth chasing after and worth putting your time and effort into, it needs a definition. Simply having a logo that is a slightly wrong or off shade of white, it's not a pure white because of the type of branding you've applied. Perhaps it's a 3D silicone branding, and that specific shade of 3D silicone, the type of material that's used, doesn't allow a pure snow white to be used. That's not a reason to delay an entire launch, why you go and source something else, especially if white isn't your brand color. But perhaps a definition of quality is that the waistband shouldn't roll, or the fabric shouldn't pill, or the garment should be lightweight and breathable. The challenge is when you pursue quality without clear definitions of what quality is. And first and foremost, this comes in the form of understanding the visual aesthetic of the product, the functional aesthetic of the product, the fit aesthetic of the product, and the fabric requirements of the product, and putting a core checklist on each of those major features in order to then justify whether or not we're going to launch. If we're looking at the fabric performance, does it have shrinkage that remains within limit? If we look at the fit performance, the measurements that I've outlined on my tech pack, am I getting the product in the pre-production sample back within tolerance? We're looking at around 1/2 inch on the chest and around 1/2 inch on the length. The things that are worth going after should be clearly defined. And once you're able to check those off, then you're ready to launch. The things that are not worth going after, the abstract details that are very difficult for customers to quantify, like the shade of white that's used on a 3D silicone logo, or ultimately comes down to the edges on the edge of a logo. Are they rounded or are they chamfered, and how chamfered they are and how rounded they are? Those are a perfectionist dilemma because there's always going to be something else that you can go after. 3. Number 2 is that you need to stop treating reversible decisions like permanent decisions. In business, there's a lot of decisions that can be reversed, right? These are things like the headline that you use on your ad. These can be things like the imagery that you use on the website. These can be things like what kind of messaging that you're using on your landing page. The things that cannot be reversed are what color you choose to use for your first collection, what size of logo that you choose to use on your product, what type of packaging that you go for. So knowing what to put your time and effort into and what you can A/B test and you can actually change down the line is key, because you cannot control everything. And to assume that you're going to enter into your first launch without a single mistake is naive. Even the brands that have existed and been around the block 5, 10, 15, 20 years still make mistakes. It's the nature of getting into an unknown path of your business. You are going to have to test. You're going to have to try. And sure, you can get the expertise of those that have come before you, but sometimes that expertise lacks the exact context of your brand, your region, your product, your customer. So know first and foremost what decisions are reversible, that you have to give your best foot and put your best foot forward for, and trust that with examination, with feedback loops, you'll be able to prove, and which ones genuinely are irreversible that you need to get correct. And of course, even with those, you always have the ability to improve down the line once, like we've mentioned in step 2, you've been able to set what quality standards you're going after. Number 3 is that more revisions will not always reduce the risk. As I mentioned, that with anything that is unknown, that you haven't done before, even things that you have done before, in a different time, in a different place, in a different context, maybe a different season, you will have a different outcome. Just because you launched something in 2025 may not mean that the same product launched in 2026 will perform just as well, even if it's a core and staple product. Perhaps the socioeconomic setting of 2025 was more conducive to product XYZ. So expecting the same exact results every single time without any variation or fluctuation is to assume that the nature of business is completely stable. You can control the inputs to assume and to get within a high degree of certainty what the outputs are going to be. But more and more revision taking doesn't reduce the risk if the risk exists. At some point, you need to know when to cut your losses and when to just launch, because the only time that you're going to get actual feedback on whether or not something truly is a risk or not is when you actually launch. And even at that point, as we mentioned with the reversible and the irreversible decisions, in some decisions, you're able to fine tune and tweak in order to eliminate or to massively reduce the risk when it does arise, simply by having your eye on the ball and making the adjustments. These can be things like your sizing chart on your website. You can always adjust that. It doesn't have to be perfect from the first go. Sure, you can go and research existing brands, see how they communicate their sizing. But you may ultimately get some people that want a refund on their sizing because your sizing chart wasn't that clear. This is where it pays to have the expertise of someone who's done it before to minimize that risk, not eliminate that risk. There's always going to be an element of risk in there. And the founder that stops launch altogether risks the biggest thing of all, seeing whether or not the idea actually is going to work. Number 4 is that you must calculate the cost of waiting. If you knew what waiting actually costs you in ROI, in a missed opportunity, in your own personal time and effort, that's assuming that you don't have a huge staff and overhead like some of the bigger brands do, you would understand that sometimes the most costly element of all is simply waiting. These could be things like needing to pay for additional storage with your warehouse if you're working with a 3PL while you haven't launched. These can be things like needing to pay for another sample while you try to fine tune it to get it perfect because of this unquantified value of quality that you have in your head. These can be things like a photography session that has to be changed because you've changed your product. Maybe you've gone from an exposed zipper to a hidden zipper. All of a sudden, you now not only have to fix the unit cost, you now not only have to fix the actual product itself and pay for another sample, but you have to fix the product images if you made them already. You have to fix the lifestyle photos if you made them already. All of these things have a huge impact. So changing a zipper is not simply about the zipper itself. It's a cascading effect that seeps into all elements of your business. So know when you're taking a decision, what is the true cost of waiting on time, on missed opportunity, and on financial resource. Number 5 is when you're determining whether to launch or not, you need to set the product baseline of success on the actual job that product is intended to do. The product should never be judged for an abstract reason that doesn't directly correlate to the product's core function. A Pilates legging shouldn't be judged on its ability to provide compression. A running short shouldn't be judged on its ability to be extra durable. So understanding what end use that product is being used for and is being designed for, and simply judging it by that is key. Trying to create a product that is going to serve many different functions and many different features is very difficult. You end up with a product that simply cannot do everything. So when distinguishing your product, determine what is it going to be used for, what are the criteria that activity, that customer persona will require of a premium quality product that sets itself apart from the competition, and play by those rules, not by other abstract rules from other domains that you might want to get into sometime in the not so very distant, perhaps, future. Number 6 is to consider launching a controlled version of your collection first. I call this the hero collection or the MVP collection, because getting to market doesn't ever mean to release a product that's unfinished or unsatisfactory, but it could mean creating a version of your collection, a version of the product launch that is smaller, it's more controlled. And with that smaller collection and that more controlled collection, number 1, you can see the unknowns, and you are able then to face the unknowns that may happen on launch, to fix them before you actually go ahead and invest into a larger launch. 2, you're able to get direct feedback on the products themselves, see what's working and see what's not working, to refine and to actually improve for the next collection. You can see if the customers can accept the price point that you've set, whether or not you need to adjust it, because it's one thing to come out with 1 or 2 products at a specific price point and then notice that either I'm underpricing or I'm overpricing, and the last thing that you want to have to do is come out, price at a premium price point, and then have to drop your prices immediately. That just signifies to customers that no one has taken onto your product, and it becomes very difficult to come back from that. Versus launching with the first set, maybe it's priced a bit too high, doesn't move as fast. You have an updated product set that you can sort of cater towards your audience if you've determined that that is the audience that you want to follow, and you price at a more entry-level price point. And perhaps that entry-level price point product gets people through the door and then gets them purchasing that higher price point product without you having had to discount the original product altogether. So when determining whether or not you're ready to launch, it's best to use 4 core checklists. When it comes to the product, you need to look at, does the product perform as promised? 2, you need to look at, has the fit that's intended been proven by the customer that it's intended for? This doesn't just mean the fit as sampled and as reviewed by you as an owner or your close friends, but actual customers that are out in the world that are using your product. 3, has it passed the general use test? When it's being used for the activity, and whether it's being washed, is it durable? Does it hold up in a natural sense? And are the measurements and the construction within the approved standard that is set by your competition? Whether you're going at the same level of your competition or you're going above your competition, are you able to exceed those quality standards that are set? Now, from a commercial standpoint, the checklists you need to set are, does the price that you've set leave you with enough of a margin for shipping, for the payment of fees to the payment processor, to the import, for returns, for exchanges, for marketing, and for reinvesting into future inventory? When you look at the customer, does the customer understand the product, the fit, the sizing, the returns, and the conditions for purchasing before purchasing through the website? And lastly, when it comes to the operations, can your business actually fulfill orders on time within the time frame that you've set? Are you able to answer customers depending on what type of query that they have or issue that they have? Are you able to process exchanges? Are you able to manage delays? And are you able to communicate problems properly? If your brand is able to pass the checklist in these 4 checks, then it's ready to launch. The abstract can be left aside. It can be used as a way to improve your product in the future, but it should never delay you from launching. If you guys want my personal checklist on how you can prepare your brand for launch and to be able to create quality product that actually makes you feel confident, that you can actually set yourself apart in the market, that you've communicated your unique vision to what you see as missing, then you can check the link in the description to apply to work with us one-on-one. We can help you design, develop, sample, and manufacture custom, unique activewear. And we'll show you what it would take with a personalized production roadmap in under 5 minutes from your inquiry. Guys, and I say this from the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of FittDesign TV. Until next week's episode, Stay awesome.